Anderson's won all of those. Will he carry on that proud record against Peter Wright?
140.
Well, you would think they'll both be up for it. Peter Wright must be on the crest of a wave. I mean, if he did go on and claim the title here, 4 wins in 8 Pro Tour events, and that's Michael Van Gerwen-esque, and that's a maximum.
Well, there's only really been 2 players that have been stopping Peter Wright, and that's Michael Van Gerwen and Gary Anderson. Anderson's won 7 of the last 10 meetings between this pair, and a lot of important ones in there, including the semi-final of the World Championship, semi-final that many people predicted would happen, and indeed it did. And Anderson just seems to be the man for the big occasion.
However, Peter Wright, in the last couple of weeks, has managed to record his first win over Gary Anderson in a couple of years, and his first win against Michael Van Gerwen in about 18 months. Now, that may be just an example of Peter Wright being in this purple patch at the minute, or maybe it's a sign that Peter Wright has levelled up a bit and is becoming a more regular challenger to these guys.
Yeah, and picked up more titles than anybody in that time period. Wonder how much sticking with the same darts has got to do with it. I'm sure ability has got much more to do with it, and he's able now to take out this double 14 for a flying start against a flying Scotsman.
107.
Just missing inside for the 1-2-1. Gary Anderson double top, double 10. So good nowadays, Gary Anderson. It's the doubling that changed Gary Anderson's success in the PDC. He was always a man who had incredible talent, obviously, but the thing that changed for him was he hits his doubles, and so often now, Gary Anderson, you expect him to hit it last dart, whereas previously, if he misses 2 darts at double, you expected him to miss.
Well, he started off perfectly in this leg. 3 big trebles. 177 start from Anderson. Peter Wright missed a dart, let's not forget, to win that first leg. But you can't afford to miss against Gary Anderson. Case in point, the semi-final against Jelle Klaasen. Klaasen missed 3 darts at double to lead 3-1. Never got another dart at double in the match. That's the kind of form that Anderson is bringing to this final. You watched Peter Wright's semi-final, Dan. What kind of form did he display?
Well, he absolutely tore Darryl Gurney apart. Admittedly, Gurney perhaps didn't hit the heights that he'd hit over the course of today, as Wright fires in his second maximum. Not down to a finish, though. It's a bogey number, the 163. So Gary Anderson, a real chance.
139.
Well, 139 leaves 90. Anderson with a chance to break at the first available opportunity. Really needs a treble here, Peter Wright, and he finds one. So Anderson may only get a dart at the bull. It is a dart at the bullseye. He pinned it in the semi-final against Jelle Klaasen, and he pins it again here. 90 checkout. Gary Anderson, whatever double, even if it's the smallest one on the board, he hits them all these days.
Oh, and he's in there again. Gary Anderson. That's his first 180 to add to the 177 he hit in the previous leg. These two met in the Premier League when Peter Wright recorded his first win for a couple of years over Gary Anderson. Gary averaged somewhere around the 105 mark. Peter Wright averaged 109. And for a lot of the game, it was 110 versus 109. But look at this, Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson, 180, 177 to leave the 144 for the 9-darter. Could we see the Flying Scotsman produce perfection in the final?
Well, we didn't see it, but Adrian Lewis hit a 9-darter earlier today. Anderson will not be adding his name to the Roll of Honour just yet anyway. There's still time.
100.
He wanted it, didn't he? Angry Anderson.
Well, he's certainly given himself a phenomenal chance of going 3-0 up. And even Peter Wright on this incredible run of form that he's on. He's going to find it hard to come back from 3-0 down against the world number 2. Throwing this kind of stuff, and once again Gary Anderson fires it in. Last dart, it is 3-0.
Some performance from Gary Anderson, just picking up where he left off. He's only dropped 12 legs all day, Gary Anderson. That is some going. So for Peter Wright, for anyone to take 6 in one match against a man who has only dropped 12 in his previous 6,
100.
Tough task.
Yes, certainly is. Benito van der Pas came as close as anybody to stopping Gary Anderson got 4 legs off him in the last 16.
140.
Since then, he smashed up Michael Smith 6-1, Jelle Klaassen 6-2, and he's 3-0 up in the final against Peter Wright, who's playing superbly. But look at this, Gary Anderson again. 2 180s, 2 177s from the Flying Scotsman.
Well, Wright needs to find another gear.
140.
Because Anderson is charging away at full speed so far and showing no signs of relenting.
140.
Well, he's been forced to take out these big finishes here, Peter Wright, and he's not going to do this. You know, the game might have been very different had he taken out that 1-2-1 in the very first leg, but right now, Gary Anderson for a second breaker throw, 81, double 12 for an 11-darter. He'll take a 12-darter, and he gets a 12-darter. Once again, Gary Anderson, last start, into the double. It is 4-0 with a double break, and Gary Anderson is in danger of absolutely obliterating the world number 3 here.
Well, I mentioned before that Klaassen didn't get another dart at double after missing darts to go 3-1 up. Peter Wright's only had a dart at a 1-2-1 finish in the very first leg, and Gary Anderson has not taken his foot off Peter Wright's throat since then.
No, he hasn't. Back-to-back 12 darters from the 2-time world champion, former Premier League champion.
100.
Just the ton. It looks like a poor visit the way that Gary Anderson is throwing right now.
Yeah, it's an incredible display from Gary Anderson. We saw at a final that was perhaps a bit of a mixed bag yesterday, but the quality in this one is streets ahead.
100.
And it's one-way traffic so far.
Needs 1 treble to get to a finish. Needs a couple to make it significantly easier. But if he doesn't get any, like that, then Gary Anderson has got 2 visits to see off 1-6-1 for a 5-0 lead. And that surely is game over.
Well, despite only dropping 12 legs in getting to this stage, in those wins against Dolan, Van Peer, West, Van der Pas, Smith and Klaassen, there hasn't been a whitewash. Will Gary Anderson save his best for the final?
140.
Now the 1-2-1. Peter Wright missed double 14 for this. Gary Anderson is going to have a go at double 14. And he misses almost exactly the same place as well. That was for 5-0. Peter Wright, it would be a break if he can take this out. 76 needed. 2 darts at double 8. And there we go. That's more like it from Snakebite. He does get a break back. His first leg on the board.
Well, that's class from Peter Wright, isn't it? It's like one of those goalkeepers who has nothing to do all game and then saves a penalty in the last minute. Could be a table turner. That remains to be seen.
140.
Will it ignite something in Peter Wright? Will it annoy Anderson and put him off his game? That dart and that dart
180.
and that dart suggests not.
Well, Peter Wright has had some battles today. He beat Cristo Reyes 6-5 in the last 16, and he came through against James Wade 6-5, and I believe he won the last 3 legs of that game against James Wade to knock out the world number 5. So he's been tested today already, but I don't think he's been tested to this extent.
Yeah, he's just got a break of throw, but Anderson's left 181 after 6. Right now needs 2 big trebles to leave a finish. It's not going to happen. It's advantage Anderson in this 6th leg. And this is to break, to go 1 away. It's an absolute demolition.
He really is something special. When he's focused, when he really wants it, when he's hungry for it, Gary Anderson is incredible. You can see him. He can't stop. He's watching every single dart that Wright throws. He's checking the score. It's not one of those Gary Anderson lackadaisical performances. He wants this, and he is absolutely taking Peter Wright to the cleaners at the moment. 5-1. Breaks back immediately. He's had 2 12-darters and an 11-darter.
Well, you get a feeling that there's a score to settle. Anderson's watched as Peter Wright has taken half the titles at the UK Open qualifiers, and Anderson's lost out in finals. Then Wright beat him in the Premier League. Gary Anderson wants to put Peter Wright back in his place.
180.
Well, Peter Wright isn't going away just yet. That's a 3rd maximum for Snakebite. 6 in this match, plus a couple of 177s from Anderson.
Well, saw Anderson tee up a potential perfect leg. Wright won't be doing the same, but if he gets himself down to reasonable territory, he can just hang on, somehow cling on to the coattails of Anderson.
With the way that Anderson is throwing, you expect he's going to chuck in another. If we do get the full complement of legs here, if somehow Peter Wright takes it to a deciding leg, you're expecting Gary Anderson at some point to chuck in an 11 or 12 darter. And if he does it on throw, that's probably the match.
100.
Well, he's got the same checkout left that he missed in the first leg, and Gary Anderson applies the pressure, and how? So 1-2-1 for Peter Wright. It is do or die for Snakebite. Treble 17. And he hasn't done it. And Gary Anderson will return for his lucky double 12.
Double 6 then for a 6-1 win. Gary Anderson has been unplayable this afternoon. He smashed Michael Smith up 6-1 in the quarters. He battered Jelle Klaasen 6-2 in the semi.